What you guys, got another video here for you. In this one, we're taking a look at what Windows 10 services can you disable safely. I get asked all the time about Windows 10 services. People seem to think it's the holy grail of giving you some more resources in Windows 10 by disabling all the unnecessary services. Again, tweakers do like to tweak their operating systems. If you don't know anything about Windows 10 services, it's probably best leaving it well alone. So let's go inside here and we're going to type services. And then what we can do is take a look at the services window. So this is where we can literally disable services. You can see some are running and you can also see some may be disabled and some may be set to manual. So going inside here, people always look and you can see there's a ton of them inside here. Now, which ones are right to disable? Well, you have to use a bit of common sense. Sometimes if you're using, say, for instance, Xbox features, then you want to leave these alone. You can see they are disabled. So if I literally open this up and double click on this, it gives you another little box and you can see it's set to disabled. So if I set this to automatic and then press apply and then start this, it will then start that service and it will be running. Now, some people, like I said, like to disable these and some people may use them. So it's like Printspawler and a bunch of other types of services like the Windows Insider service. If you are part of the Insider program for Windows, then you want to leave this obviously on. You don't want to be disabling this because otherwise you're not going to be able to use that feature. Now, some people do use it. So me making a video with a script in it, disabling certain features may be dangerous to some people because they may need those particular types of features like Windows Search. If you are a person that uses Windows Search, then obviously you're not going to want to disable it. This is the problem with tweaking videos. What's right for one person is not always right for someone else. And this can cause a lot of problems and also mess people's systems up a little bit. So you have to use it with a bit of common sense, like I said. So let's take a look at some of these. I get asked a question all the time, can you explain what services do? And that's another thing that I get asked about all the time. Really, all you need to do here is look at the service itself, and it does give you a description of what this actual service does. And basically, you can see here, provides content indexing, property, and also caching, and search results for files, email, and other content. So when you look inside here, you can see what it actually says. There's another way of going about it as well, which is taking a look on something like this website here, which gives you, it's called batcmd.com. I've used this website before explaining what they do. All you need to do here is find the service which you're looking at. But before I do that, let me just quickly give you the Windows Insider service here. So let's click on this. So when you click on this here, you can see here, provides infrastructure support for Windows Insider program. The service basically must remain enabled for you to use the Windows Insider program. So it's a little bit more easier to understand when you're reading it here. It'll give you a bunch of different versions of Windows 10 here, and it will give you Home and Pro and some of the settings that it's set to. Now, of course, you can disable it. You can see here the server name is this, and we have also the name of the display name. There is also an area down here which allows you to download files to restore it back to the default settings. And this is for all of the services. Now, I've got a batch file here which I like to use, which makes it very easy. So let me just show you here a batch file here. Basically, it's a list of services that I've got inside here, which I don't use and I can happily disable without messing up my system. You can see there's a lot of services here. Now, you may need some of these services, but services like, for instance, remote registry, geolocation service, Windows Search, Xbox, all of these have been listed here. I've created this to make it easy for me to enable and disable these. I've got the Windows Insider service. I'm not going to be using that on this machine. Also, we've got retail demo service here, wallet service. If you use these, then leave them enabled. It's that simple. fax service. I don't know who uses fax anymore, but if you do, then obviously you're not going to want to disable that service. Windows biometric service, IP helper, and you can see there's a bunch of other ones here. This one might be a bit controversial. The file history service. If you use file history as part of your backing up process and stuff like that, then you may want to leave that well alone. So if you go to that website here, like I showed you before, and we'll click back, and we called it, it was Windows File History Service. Let's have a look. Let's see there. So it was Windows Insider, what a file history service. So let's go to file history service. Let's go to the F's. So when you get up to here, you can see file history service. Click on this one here. And again, protects users' files for accidental loss by copying them to a backup location. So if you use this feature, then don't disable it. I get asked silly questions sometimes about certain things, but really it's a bit of common sense. You just have to understand what this is. And if you don't understand any of this stuff because you're a beginner user, then there's nothing wrong with that, but just don't mess with your PC. Otherwise you're going to mess up your settings and stuff like that. So let's go back to the services here. And let's just take a look here. So the Insider service, what you would do was find one you want to disable. For instance, if you're not in the Insider program service, then you want to disable that. So you can come in here, you can put this to disable, click apply, and then click stop, and it will stop that service and it won't be running. That means you're not having a running service and you're going to claim back a little bit of system resources on your system. Now, when you go through all of these, if you go through here, you'll see there's a bunch of services here that you can actually mess around with. So the NetBIOS helper is something that I don't use anymore, but if you do use it, then obviously you want to leave it well alone. But I can now safely disable this and the system will be working perfectly fine. It's just going to disable certain types of services that I don't use. Now, there is critical ones inside here that you may use, so be very careful with some of the scripts you may find online, because if you start messing with some of these, you're going to end up with serious problems. You'll also see a description here, which you can read as well, which tells you discovers network devices and services that use the SSDP discovery protocol, such as UPnP. So you've got to be careful here. Now, I've seen some scripts disabling some stuff like this, and maybe those are gaming machines where they're not doing anything like that. So you've just got to be careful with some of the scripts you find online that you're running, because it will mess up your computer. So let me go ahead and show you here the script, and the way it works is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to literally right click on this and run this as administrator. And you'll get a bunch of stuff like that, and it's all now disabled. So if I go back into services, and we can take a look here, and let's have a look here. So when I click on the startup option, you'll see a bunch of disabled services here, and there's a load of them. As you can see here, all these have been disabled, and these are the ones that I disable, which are safe to disable on this system. And if you go through here, you'll be able to see them. You've got auto time zone updater. You've got a bunch of other stuff here. I'm not going to go through every single one of these, like downloaded maps manager and diagnostic system host, diagnostic server host. There is loads. Fax, file service history, geolocation service, IP helper. The list goes on. Remote registry, retail demo service. There's also some telemetry ones on here as well that I've disabled. There may be ones on here that you may want to leave enabled. And if that is the case, for instance, if you wanted to use, let's see, the Windows Media Player network sharing service, if this is something you want to do, this shares your Windows Media Player libraries over the network. Now, if you do use Windows Media Player, you're going to want to literally leave that enabled, because obviously you're not going to be able to share your libraries over the network. I don't use a media player, I use Plex, so I don't have no use for this. But if you do, then obviously you're going to need to leave that enabled. Also, you can see here touch keyboard and handwriting panel service. If you don't use that, you can disable it. Now you can see this is running. Once I reboot the system, that will stop it. So let me just quickly reboot the system. Okay, so we're back at the desktop here, and of course everything is working fine. If there is a service that you need that has been disabled, you can always enable this. Now there is other ones I could go into here and disable. I can be more aggressive with this if I wanted to. The problem with that is when you share those scripts online, people use them and they end up with more problems. So you've got to be very careful. This is a obviously these services, some of them are crucial to certain people to have their PC running properly. And you'll see things like Windows Event Log and things like that. People sometimes turn off items like this, and you've got a bunch of other things that people turn off as well. So just be careful what you're actually turning off here. See, payments and NFC I've turned off here, and a bunch of other bits and pieces, quite a bit. Now, if you do want to re-enable any of these, all you need to do is go into here, find out what setting it's set to by going to that website. You can also, if you wanted to use the BitLocker, say for instance, you can then put this to exactly what it was meant to be on, whether it be manual, automatic delay, and then click apply and OK, and then click start, and the service will start. For instance, if I just did this and then click start, that service would start. You can find out all about those services by going to that website, and it will tell you what it's meant to set to. Okay, so that is the services which are safe to disable, in my opinion. It's not going to cause any problems. Will you see a massive difference in performance in your PC? That's going to be debatable. Some people say yes, some people are going to say no, depending on what hardware you've got on your PC. But again, these are pretty safe. Now, again, things like Print Spoiler, if you've got a printer, that will cause problems. But these are easy reversible. But the more aggressive ones are more like the networking and stuff like that, which people might not have NAS drives and share files on their network and things, and they disable all that. But again, if you use it, then don't play with those types of things. Anyway, with that said, I think that's going to be about it. That's basically some of the Windows 10 services that you can disable safely. My name has been Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. Just want to say a big special thanks to all my YouTube members who have joined my YouTube members group. I shall see you again for another video real soon. Thanks again. Bye for now.